My name is Nicholas. My name is Nicholas. I'm a designer at Google, and I've been on the team working on material design. Hopefully, y'all have heard something about this. I was going to do a very brief introduction to it. I'm going to play the sizzle reel that we put together, since it'll give you basically a fire hose experience version of it. But essentially, we've been working on a redesign intended both for Google and for its platform, so targeting third parties and all of our own internal applications with one hopefully cohesive design. Just to give you a sense of it, this is the video. So it has been a pretty long process for us. What I wanted to talk to you all a little bit about tonight was just sort of the process we actually did go through. This sort of simplifies it down to a number of small screens, but really this has been multiple years of designers working together with engineering teams. And so what I want to talk through is how we started, which largely a few years ago, you started to see a few more designs coming from Google. This comes from sort of leadership request for a bold, beautiful, and consistent user interface for Google. This has been a thing that we've been asked for every year. Our first version of this was actually called Project Kennedy. It was very much targeted only at websites. So you could see the old version of Gmail that we had gone from, and then the 2011 redesign that we went to. We spent a lot more time thinking about white space and deliberately placing things within the pages. And one side effect of this is that it actually got most of the Google designers together for meetings over and over and over again, because we were trying to coordinate all this effort. And if you end up putting all your designers together into a room, you kind of have to expect things to continue changing. Once we've gotten a taste for this, we don't really want to stop. So we made it for about a year, until about the beginning of 2013, without managing to meddle in too many other designs. We continued to refine that existing design. But starting then, we actually got a group of designers from Android, Chrome, Google+, and the apps teams together to sort of see where we could push Google to next. We started doing far more out there explorations, looking both at the brand as well as just how it will figure into UI, doing a number of concepts around how we can blend the best of both to have a very consistent story across not just our web properties, but also our mobile properties as well. So you see a few different explorations we had done for calendar. A lot of these sort of pick up much more bold use of color. We sort of started with that with the web properties. They remained fairly simple and white, but we tried to push for more color and more meaning to color whenever we could. In addition, we also started to look at how materials can be used in order to convey relationship of objects to each other. So looking at what kind of happens if you were to build these UIs out of real materials, and this one was something we actually built out of paper at one point as well, looking how light reflects off objects onto other objects, how shadows can act as cues for the relationship of things to each other. A few more other explorations around just sort of the mood that we were going for, particularly as for our company, that we wanted something simple, but something also that felt very refined and very tactile. So we took that initial request that we had gotten from leadership and then decided that we wanted to push it across everything. We wanted it not to be stuck to just one platform, so hitting both web, mobile, and all the different platforms we designed for, and through that, hitting a range of devices. This started sort of with desktop, tablet, mobile, and has extended over time to both watches and television. And throughout that, we've been trying to figure out ways of conveying very similar structures through all these different devices that we work with. And so over the course of this year, we sort of refined that and presented it earlier this summer. This is sort of looking at an example mail app as it might exist across a number of different platforms, but trying to pick up very similar interaction cues and very similar design across them. And this has been very helpful to us internally, because we've gone from the situation where we have sort of disparate platforms. It's allowed us to take sort of the flatness that we saw in our web version of Gmail and the dimensionality and the icon of the Android version, and try to use those to create something new that binds combines both of them. We looked at our iconography in terms of actually dimension, trying to see how light worked across them similarly. And like, the end result for these were a much more material-like representation of our apps that hopefully would carry meaning through their form in addition to the color that was later introduced into them. We wanted things to be unique and to convey a common feeling when you experienced that application or that when you did that task across platforms. So that notion of materiality was carried through into the apps themselves. We wanted to use it both as branding, so that you represent the app access point, but also the experience within the app using common color cues and common material cues. So a lot of our focus has been on how do you use a backstory to help drive design. We have found this very helpful because in bringing on new design disciplines, things like motion, it's been hard to try to combine the work from motion designers and visual designers in a way that was coherent. Often things were added as polish later on in the process. They didn't necessarily jive with interaction design, but by saying that things are fundamentally grounded in physical principles and physical relationships between objects, you can make motion design, interaction design, and visual design work in concert to create simpler applications. So this is very much like something that we're actively working on for our platforms. It's something we want to make sure work for third parties. So if any of you are interested in this, go ahead and talk to us. I'm happy also now to answer any questions about this. Thank you. Yeah, so if any of y'all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Okay, anything comes up, go ahead.
I'm awestruck. It must be a huge project. How far have you got?
Well, as far as buy-in, I think we're good. So we announced everything at I/O, and then we had people coming up to us and congratulations on everything you've accomplished, and we're like, but we haven't actually shipped anything yet. So now we are in the process of doing the new revision of Android, as well as working with our web properties to update to these. We're trying to do it across 2 or 3 different platforms simultaneously, which makes it a pretty big ordeal, but we're actually able to introduce new processes into the workflow. We've created new asset management systems that our web properties and our mobile properties are using the exact same icons, which thrills us to no end because we can change it one place and it changes everywhere. So we are well along in the process. I think that you'll see more and more of this show up towards the end of this year. But it's definitely something that we are going to keep pushing on to get out to both our own applications, and we've already started working with a number of third-party developers to try to just use this as a framework for others, and just to help them with design. The reason we did it internally was we saw teams struggling to establish a baseline interaction pattern or even visual pattern rather than focusing on what made their app unique. And now they actually can focus on making their app beautiful, and it's been very valuable for us.
Can you share a little bit about sort of how you guys work you work on this great sort of set of work, your team's distributed everywhere, I'm assuming. Where are you guys located? How's that sort of internal workings?
So we have, effectively, we're working across 3 or 4 major offices for each of these. Our focus has been consumer initially. Most of those are in Mountain View, New York, San Francisco. My team is split between New York and San Francisco, which helps a little bit. But mostly it relies on communication between designers. This has been very much a bottom-up effort from design, and it has involved sort of senior designers from each team just staying in communication, conveying what they are doing to others, and whenever we find patterns that are applicable to others, trying to share that between different teams. The engineering side of it has been a little bit harder. Things like that asset production have helped, but we're using design as a lever to make that kind of change, and telling people oh, we've made you your assets, they are here. Go to this place, and establishing better processes that way. It just helps to have the company aligned around a single sort of direction that we know will work for any of our products as well as any other products. All right, come find me later if you have any other questions. Thank you.